Okay, let's try this again. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Lazy Mini Painting. I'm Les, your host. I know I've been live already once today, but that was to build the models for this morning. I'm just gonna make sure I am, in fact, live now, because I wasn't a moment ago. And it's working. Excellent. So, anyone who caught me this morning, I did go through the building and run quickly through the painting section. However, now I am going to the reading section. I just need to check to make sure I don't have anyone popping in on portrait mode like they did this morning. Which is fun enough as it is, really, isn't it? Now, I do have to check that my portrait mode is running as well, because it is not giving me any notifications for that, and I did tell it I wanted to run both. So yes, my portrait mode is running, but it is not telling me so. Oh, good. It's nice, isn't it? It's kind like that. So I'm just going to hold on for a second too, just in case people come in. Because it is a rarity that I'm... Don't be a silly phone on me now, come on. View my own channel. Look at my live streams. Load my live streams, please, thank you. And then... let me watch it. No, it's not going to work like that, so I'm going to have to cheat. If you're wondering how you cheat, you use the PC, you put it in your history, and once it's in your history, you can click on it again. There we go. No, it's not going to work like that, so yeah, forgot to turn the actual media volume down, which is always useful. So there we go. We are up and running properly. Good evening, Twisted. Good evening. How are you doing, man? Now, this is only going to be a quick one tonight because it is only the reading section from the magazine that I did this morning. Again, there is a part of the story. Please read that because it is an ongoing story throughout all the issues. And I don't have all the issues anymore. I've had to throw them away due to storage. I don't have enough storage to store a year's worth of magazines, along with a year's worth of models and everything else that goes with it. No worries. Well, I shall read along with you while you're having your lunch then, Twisted. And fingers crossed again we don't have what happened this morning happen again. So with issue 56, which is where we're on, and the reading section starts with the kin hosts. This is going to tell us about the Votan and how they're organised and how they work. Should be easy enough, I think. I know I've not got a hat on, so I'm sorry for anyone getting glare off my head. Let's start. The kin hosts. The League's Votan are an advanced technological society and a redoubled military power. The best of their strategy, innovation and leadership are combined in the kin hosts. The armies that defend the kindred from external military threats and secure the safety of their vital mining and trading operations. I'm guessing this is the overall army bits. So any of the armed forces. Okay. When the Leagues of Votan go to war, they leave nothing to chance. Their kin hosts are equipped with some of the finest weapons, armour and equipment in the entire galaxy. They employ advanced vehicles to mount offensive and defensive operations, allowing them to strike hard and fast at the cowering enemy. When troops dismount, they are expertly coordinated by master strategists and move decisively towards the foe, capturing positions and putting down enemy units in a torrent of bolts and storm of plasma fire. Few can match the kin for skill at arms, and when combined with their advanced weapons, communications and martial strategy, the might of the kin host is truly a force to be reckoned with. Apparently, she was running a lot of plasmas. That's scary. I'm used to plasmas killing my units. That's not good. So what is a Votanic Council? The Votanic Councils, kin hosts are governed by the Votanic Councils. These are made up of the most noteworthy heroes within the kindred, such as the High Carl, or Lord Grimnir, and the Brochere Forgemaster. These are dour and pragmatic figures whose primary aim is to secure the greatest victory at the least cost. Their wisdom allows them to keep the focus on their goal without letting pride or fury lead them astray. Oh, that nice little bit there. So, very pragmatic, very logical, and minimal losses, please. Very, very akin to the Eldar. Very akin to the Eldar. Good evening, Lee. Nice to have you in, mate. Thank you for coming up. You creating a new intro? I look forward to seeing it. Sorry, pardon me. Soldiers of the Line. A kin host is usually built around a solid core of infantry, who the kin refers to as soldiers of the line. The most numerous of these are the highly trained and well-equipped Hernkyn warriors. But a kin host also contains combat specialists, like the heavily armoured Einherjar and the Chthonian Berserkers. The Chthonian Berserkers are not very well armoured, but they are very, very well armed. Huge plasma axes and giant, concussion fists. Whereas the heavily armoured Einherjar, which are the ones pictured here, are pretty much the Votan equivalent of Terminators. Very, very heavily armoured. The Armoured Might. The kin make use of their technological expertise by employing armoured vehicles on the battlefield. These can play multiple roles depending on the situation. In some battles, they may act as mobile fighting platforms, raining down death on the enemy from afar. In others, they may transport troops right to the front lines and shield them from the enemy fire as they dismount to launch an assault on their still reeling foes. So Armoured Might is, they've got tanks and they have APCs. Same as pretty much most armies apart from Tyranids. You have a transport and you have tanks. Tyranids don't have transports or tanks, they just have big creatures. So that's the kin host. So what about the leagues themselves? To ward themselves against the vicious perils of the wider galaxy, kindreds band together in alliances called leagues. These leagues pool their resources, relationships and military might to prosper together, forming recognisable and unified cultures that have their own specific methods of surviving and thriving. I have a real cough tonight. I'm sorry. Grab a drink before I carry on. The first leagues were formed to defend the ancestor cores that were distributed amongst the mining fleets, and they were primarily military in purpose. Soon, these flourishing alliances evolved into something closer to nations, each with their own heraldry, outlook and culture. Some have been destroyed over the thousands of years, while others have been fragmented and scattered. But many have risen to the challenges of life in the galactic core and have only become larger, stronger and more unified over the millennia since their founding. Although each league will look to further its own interests and ensure its own survival above all else, there is no consistent approach taken across all the different alliances. Some, like the Kulo Industrial Complex, are known for their mining and resource gathering, while the likes of the Jotun... you're going to have to give me a second for this one. This is a heck of a doozy word. Irandi? I think, yeah. Jotun Irandi combined... Okay, let's start that again, that little sentence. So, while the likes of the Jotun Irandi combine are renowned for their superlative skill at forging and manufacturing. They really don't make this easy for me to read out loud, do they? Still, others are known for their warlike natures and their skill at arms, and none more so than the mighty Cronus Hegemony. Hey, I got that one right. So the Cronus Hegemony are the more military league. The one that I had a lot of trouble saying is the one for forging and manufacturing, and Kulo Industrial Complex is the mining and resource gathering. So they do have their specialties even within the leagues. I did not know that. I thought they were all kind of just the same. So here we have 3 colour schemes, and 3 heraldries, and 3 descriptions. So, top one here is the Greater Thurian League. The Greater Thurian League is one of the largest and oldest of the leagues of Votan. They have amassed a huge store of wealth and command one of the largest and most powerful armies of kin host warriors. Their deeds and battles are legendary, while they can boast of famous heroes such as Uthar the Destined and Karl Covermrend. Why did they do this to me? I really don't know. However you're supposed to pronounce these words, which I'm hoping it can zoom in on so you can either zoom on your tablet or your phone or your PC. However you're supposed to pronounce those last 3 words there, I have no idea. But they're the warlike race. So yes, excellent. Next up, well, they are the Greater Thurian League are the white and kind of greeny coloured ones. As you can see there, it's mostly white on the backpacks and helmets, and then green where the fabric would be. Next, which is this heraldry, and would be the Trans-Hyperion Alliance, mostly orange and black with occasional white stripes. The Trans-Hyperion Alliance are noted for their adventurous streak and their love of exploring. They use advanced spacecraft to search out untapped resources, new trade routes, and other species to ally with. They hold deep respect for their ancestors and all of the leagues. They probably come the closest to having a religious attitude. Okay. So they're the Zealous Nutheads. They're the Black Templars, the things like that. You love you some Greater Thurian League. Is that what you'll go for, Twisted? Would you go for the green and white? Thirdly, and lastly, we have the Ymir Conglomerate. Now these are mostly red and black. These look nice, actually. These look very nice. This little chappy down here. The Ymir Conglomerate are noted craftspeople and manufacturing experts. Their Brachia produce some of the finest spacecraft, weapons, and equipment out there. Okay, let's try that again. This is the great thing about doing it live, isn't it? You get to see all the mess-ups. Their Brachia produce some of the finest spacecraft, weapons, and equipment among all the leagues. In order to join the conglomerate, a kindred must pay an offering of raw materials and prove that their Brachia are of sufficient standard to stand amongst their Ymir peers. So they're the really, really, really arsey ones about making stuff. If that bolt isn't screwed all the way in, then you're out. So they're the tech priests. So we have essentially the Space Marines, the Guard, and the AdMech. All in one faction. That's good. Not that it'll play like that. So that is the reading done for the Votan. Next is the campaign and the mission. So campaign, Orcs versus Space Marines. The Space Marines see the Orcs as akin to a pest problem, whereas the Orcs see the Space Marines as a great chance to test their meta. Whenever the two sides meet, there is no doubt that there will be a bloodbath. So for this campaign, a horde of Orcs have heard of the fighting that is going on in the sector. Hardly able to believe their luck, they'll pilot into a motley fleet of barely functional spacecraft and have arrived in the middle of the fighting. The war boss is desperate to prove himself and attract more orcs to his horde, so he will settle for nothing less than the biggest battle and the hardest enemy he can find. Meanwhile, the Space Marines continue to assist in the search for technology that could bolster the Imperium's capabilities and aid their many campaigns around the galaxy. Most of the searching is being done by specialist scouting parties, with the Astartes acting as their security, cleaning areas in advance of their arrival and escorting them through perilous territory. But the Space Marines are spread far too thin for comfort, and barely have they finished one task when they are immediately deployed on the next. So this mission is called Clash of Patrols. Play this scenario in this campaign article. You will need a combat patrol mission called Clash of Patrols, which you will find in your collection file under G, Core Missions 1. So it's the basic of basic missions. You're just going to use one play map. From the very centre point, you will have 10 inches from on the long edges, 10 inches from the centre line to the edge of each deployment zone. From the very central point itself, going again straight down the centre in every way. So if you go left and right, there's an objective marker 10 inches either side, so they're 20 inches away from each other. And up and down, it's 6 inches either side. So 4 inches away from either player's deployment zone, there will be an objective marker from the centre. Again, you will play that through as you would play a normal mission, each objective scoring you 1 victory point or 5 victory points, depending on the mission. If you control 1, you score 5. If you control more than your opponent, you score another 5 victory points, to a maximum of 10 per phase. So, going for the Orcs. The Orcs are ecstatic to realise that some of the best possible challengers are near to their position. The Space Marines are a well-known enemy, and if the Orcs can win a victory against them, that will go a long way to establish their reputation as some of the kickiest and bashiest Orcs around. Even if they can't secure a victory this time around, a fight against such a powerful enemy is bound to be a great laugh. So it's all just giggles for the Orcs, this. Space Marines, on the other hand, realising that the Orcs are starting to mass in the system, a small force of Space Marines is immediately dispatched to disrupt their arrival. Although there is little hope of destroying them outright, commanders hope that if the force can be split, the resulting smaller warbands will be easier to handle. A victory here today will help to keep the area clear for the Imperial scouting parties to continue their desperate research, or they are gonna get smashed and crumped by the Orcs. It is October, so hopefully the Orcs win. I did say this was going to be a very quick one today. It's the second one, so if you take them into consideration, it's been like over 2 hours overall. So the Orcs victory, if the Orcs get the victory, the Space Marines advance falters and they pull back, leaving their dead on the battlefield. Undeterred, the victorious Orcs continue to shoot, kick and bash the fallen warriors as they lie in the dust. With any luck, the victory here today will alert other forces in the area, and they will come flocking to challenge the Horde and give the Orcs a crumping good time. So if you are seeking a faction victory, the Orcs were victorious here. The next article is H campaign number 9. If the Orc player has won 3 battles in a row, then they have completed their campaign victory. If you complete the campaign victory for the Orcs have had a fantastic time. They are still spoiling for a good fight, but they have already notched up some impressive victories. First, the Astra Militarum sought to delay the Orc advance, but they were given a good crumping and sent howling back to the protection of their main battle group. Next, the World Eaters proved to be a worthy enemy, as aggressive and warlike as the Orcs themselves. but in the end they were no match for the Wa, and will know better than to get in the way next time. Finally, the Space Marines tried to push the Orcs back, but they too had their heads decisively kicked in. It's been victory after victory, and the Orcs haven't had so much fun in ages. The Orcs are just fun though, aren't they? Just reading that a little bit, it's just, the Orcs are having a damn good time. If it was a Space Marine victory, however, the last Orc still fighting falls at the feet of the mightiest Deptus Astartes. The remainder are dead or fleeing. Whatever they had hoped to accomplish, the plans of the Orcs are dashed, and next time they fight, they must do so with many of their best units and leaders slain. This is a great victory for the Space Marines. Again, if you're seeking a faction victory, the Space Marines were victorious. Move on to Article H and Campaign Section 12, and that'll continue on. If this is the third battle won for the Space Marine player, and they have completed their campaign victory, this is the story summary. The Space Marines campaign victory. The Space Marines have led a difficult campaign that has first brought them to blows with many of their enemies. First, the Eldari tried to take the ground from the Imperial forces, but the Space Marines beat back their attack. Next, the Chaos Space Marines attacked a vital site. The Space Marines repelled the invaders and destroyed the site before anyone else could decipher them. Now, the Orcs have been routed, clearing the way for the scouts to continue their vital mission. This won't be the last battle, but for now their mission has been accomplished, and with all challenges beaten back so far, it looks like the Space Marines have set the stage for an Imperial triumph. Ooh. So, if that was your third victory for the Space Marines, you have won! You can scout the planet, you can get the resources, you can get the STC files and advanced technology that you've been searching for. If you were the Orcs and you've won it, then you've just had a crumbling good time and been kicking heads in. You gotta love it. So now we have a new scenario. Oh, okay. Scenario 34. So this will be play F, scenarios 34 when it references it later on. Salvage the supplies. I can't read at the moment. An expeditionary scout force of kin has intercepted a distress beacon from a downed Imperial vessel. Where potential resources can be salvaged, they will never miss the chance. The kin are not alone though, as the Eldari have also deployed their forces with designs on capturing these potentially vital supplies. Time is of the essence, and violence is all but a certainty. So how do we play this mission? I don't know. That's why I'm reading this bit, I'm going to find out. Starting with the Eldari player, place a total of 2 battlefield debris cards and 2 crater/area terrain or barricade cards in in empty sections of the battlefield. Then, starting with the Leagues of Votann player, place a total of 3 objective markers, each in a different section of the crash site. Neither player may take any enhancements or secondary objectives or use any faction abilities or stratagems. So just plain old data sheets on this one. Seem to do that a lot. For deployment, the Eldari player places the following units in their deployment zone. 1 unit of 3 Guardian Defenders with a Star Cannon, 1 unit of 3 Guardian Defenders, and 1 unit of 3 Wind Riders. One of the Wind Riders should be armed with a scatter laser. Then, the Leagues of Votann player places the following units in their deployment zone. 2 units of 3 Hernkyn Warriors, all equipped with Ion Blasters, and 3 Hernkyn Pioneers. The Eldari player will take the first turn in this scenario. Okay, but how about we have a look at the map? Hey, he's just told us all that and it doesn't actually show us what the map is. There we go. So we're using 2 boards on this one. Battle maps 1 and 2. Leagues of Votann deploy in the top right hand corner, which is yellow on this one, and the Eldari deploy in the bottom left hand corner, which is blue, if you have the magazine in front of you. Pardon me. So, placing the terrain and objectives. Terrain cards must be placed in a section of the battlefield that does not already have a card in it. Similarly, when placing objective markers during setup, they must be set up in a section of the battle map that does not already have an objective marker on it. So you can't put 2 objective markers in one place, and you can't put 2 sceneries in one place, but you can put an objective marker in a piece of scenery. Okay. Fair enough. As long as you can get into that scenery. So if it's blocking scenery, like I would say like the container, I don't think you would be able to. But as it's the Eldari player who's put the scenery out, in this case they've put a container there, 2 across the middle there just to make sure they've got a line of sight block, and 1 directly next to them. The Leagues of Votann players then put, obviously, 2 objective markers pretty close to them, and then 1 right down near the Eldari. Now they have marked out an area as the crash site, which is the centre 4 squares, and then 1 away across the top from the Votann, and then 1 away from across the bottom for the Eldari, and that is the crash site. So how do we win this? In this scenario, the objective markers represent supply caches. At the end of each player's shooting phase, if that player has a friendly unit within 3 inches of a supply cache, and that unit did not shoot in that phase, that unit can salvage a supply cache. Remove that objective marker from the battlefield and place it next to that unit. That unit is now carrying a supply cache. A unit can only carry 1 cache at a time. If a unit carrying a cache is destroyed, before removing the last model in that unit from the battlefield, place the objective marker within 1 inch of that model. At the end of the 5th battle round, each player scores 5 victory points for each cache carried by a friendly unit. The player with the most victory points is the winner. If both players have equal number of victory points, it's a draw. You've only got 3 objective markers. I suppose you could have a draw if you have 1 each and there's still 1 on the battlefield, but 3 pushes it more to not having a draw, especially with them being so close to the Votann. Yeah, they can run out, get them, and come back quick, and then go on the defensive. Whereas the Eldari are going to have to advance out on the offensive quite quick, and then pick up and run back. So, datasheet abilities. So, a scout's reminder, how the scout rule works. The scout's rule allows units to move a number of units equal to the number next to their scout on their datasheet. So it'll be Scout X, whether it be Scout 6, Scout 9, Scout 8. Whatever that number is, how many inches they can move before you take the first turn. So in the case of the Hernkyn Pioneers, they have Scout 9. This means they can move 9 inches before the game begins. The Scout rule is incredibly powerful, as it allows you to secure areas in the battlefield or a supply cache before the game begins. Try playing this scenario a few times and pay attention to when you're placing the supply caches. You can find a perfect spot that allows you to steal a supply cache before the Eldari can get to it if you're a Leagues of Votann player. So in deployment, the Hernkyn Pioneers use scouts 9 inches before the game begins. Then the Eldari take the first turn. The Eldari so they've moved 9 inches out. Eldari take the first turn even though the Wind Riders are right at the edge of the deployment zone. So the Eldari player then advances their Wind Riders and rolls a 4 just out of range of the cache. Hernkyn Pioneers go in second. 12-inch move easily puts them over the objective, allows them to swoop in and take the cache on their first turn. Outflanking Mag Riders. What's this about? Now these are these guys, aren't they? That we put together this morning. So that's these guys. One of them does have a great big whopping gun on the back. Do you remember that? So the Hernkyn Pioneers have access to the Outflanking Mag Riders datasheet ability, which allows them to teleport around the battlefield. In this example, the Hernkyn Pioneers leave the southern edge of the battlefield at the end of the Eldari turn and reappear during the Leagues of Votann players' turn on the northern edge of the battlefield, ready to flank the enemy. Replay this scenario a few times and challenge yourselves to do each of the following: reach a supply cache before your enemy can, escape an enemy's ranged attack, and flank an enemy to set yourselves up for a charge. So we want you to replay this mission a couple of times so you can redo those. I don't have a table out big enough at the moment to be able to do this, sadly enough. I would like to run this, but I don't have a table out big enough. I'm limited to just what is my desk, as you see in front of us. So I can't actually run through this because I do need like 12 and 9 inches and 14 inches, and yeah, I've not got that much room. So as it's got the example here, the Hernkyn Pioneers within 6 inches of the bottom edge, but no enemy within 9 inches, so they disappear off the bottom, and then they have to be within 6 inches of the top edge, and again staying 9 inches away from any enemy models, and they can appear right behind the Eldari where they were expecting it. So, again, the quick victory conditions. If it was a draw, the kin and the Eldari suffer heavy losses and are forced to retreat with what little salvage they can muster. With the remains of the vessel unclaimed, full-scale conflict looms over the system, as both sides will no doubt wish to return and exact a brutal toll on the other. If the Eldari win, you're the Eldari player. A whip-fast Eldari run rings round. The whip-fast Eldari run rings round the kin, forcing them into a begrudging retreat after suffering a hail of shuriken and laser fire. With reinforcements from the Eldari's craft world en route, the spoils are theirs for the taking. And if the little dwarfs win, the kin repel the Eldari scouts with a barrage of iron weapons. The remains of the downed Imperial vessel are theirs to claim, and with the crash site now secure, the rest of the Oathband are inbound to salvage its invaluable technology. Yep, they're scrappers, alright. So the Leagues of Votann sounds like you've just mashed every single force, apart from the Tyranids, into one, and just called them Votann. So there's bits of the orcs in there because they like the scrap, they like the salvage, they like taking crap that ain't theirs. There's bits of the Eldar in there because they are a dwindling race. They don't have a birth pool, so to speak. They are genetically grown. Obviously, they share a lot of traits with the Imperium, it's where they're mainly from. And highly technologically advanced like the Necrons. There's a bit of everybody in them. Next week, we will get to start the Chthonian Berserkers. Now, we can get a better look at these now. As I said, they're not as heavily armoured as some of the other Leagues of Votann models. And this nice little guy down here he's got a big heavy gun, but he's got a nice little automata carrying his axe for him. So it's a five-man unit, even though he's technically 6 in it. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me either. 1 is carrying 2 concussion gauntlets. 3 are ready with their big plasma axes, and 1's got whatever the big whopping weapon is, and his little buddy carrying his weapon for him. And that's going to be issue 57 for next week. Again, because it's split over 2 parts, I won't actually be putting it all together until we get issue 58. However, issue 58 is the week where I believe I may not be doing my review on time as normal. Even I have to split it like this morning and today. I did my usual stream this morning and I've come back later on in the evening to continue the rest. In the case of this one, issue 58, when that's there and I'm having to put them all together, it will probably be put back to the Thursday. Just so you know. Just so we're all on the same page. And in this case, it's the last page. Good, isn't it? I hope I didn't rush through too quickly for you. If you have any questions, please pop them down in the description down below, and I will, well, the comment section, not the description. You can't edit the description, only I can do that. But pop them in the comment section, and I will be more than happy to answer them. Or if any of my community wishes to answer them for me because they spotted it first, please go ahead. Again, this is usual YouTube stuff, but all links, clickies and clackies are all down below. Please feel free to use any of them. The Discord is free for those who wish to click that. If you are under the age of 18, just bear in mind that this is a very grown-up based server. So most people in there are going to be over the age of 30, if not over 40, and some over 50. So if you feel that that's up to you if you join. I'm not stopping you from joining, just bear in mind that some people may be old enough to be your parent or grandparent. So just bear that in mind. Other than that, thank you very much for coming to see me tonight. I hope you enjoyed my little read through. It's not been too long for you, 35 minutes ish, give or take. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Please drive safely, and I'll see you tomorrow night at 9:30 to do the magical world of Sparkles and Oak. See you later.